Welcome to Mamatoosa, Conversations with a Midwife. I'm your host, Atoosa Benji. A quick note before today's episode. This show talks about birth, life, death, and all the complexities in between. My goal is always to share stories that leave you feeling empowered, but please know that some topics may be challenging or deeply moving. Also, while I'm an experienced midwife, I'm not your midwife, and the information on this podcast is not intended to be medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider when considering what is best for you as an individual. Now, without further ado, I hope you enjoy the show. Hi everyone, Mamatoosa here. I'm so excited for today's episode. I had a great conversation with Shaina Brickner from Pre-Parented. Shaina is a wife and a mom and a registered nurse, lactation consultant, and a doula. We had a really great conversation about breastfeeding, feeding in general, when to introduce the bottle, perinatal mood and anxiety disorder and its ramifications on breastfeeding, and really all things feeding for the whole hour, and answered some of your most pertinent questions. I think you're going to love it. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. If you'd like to stay in touch, check me out on Instagram or Substack. And now, here's my conversation with Shaina Brickner. Welcome, Shaina Brickner. I'm so excited to have you. It's been months in the coming.
Yes.
Two busy women, ships in the night, right? I think we finally got it. And you are here for Mamatoosa's first birthday, which is today.
Really?
Today.
Congratulations and happy birthday.
Thank you. We got a new set.
Wow.
Which seems to work well with people's complexion, including
Love
yours.
it.
You're glowing.
Thank
You're
you.
glowing in the new Mamatoosa birthday present. And yeah, podcast is growing and it's so exciting. And I'm just so grateful that you made yourself available because I have so many things to ask you.
My pleasure. Go for it.
Yeah.
Take it away.
It's coming. It's coming. So you are a mama.
I am.
To 3 babies.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a registered nurse. You did labor and delivery.
Yeah. I first worked at Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center and then transferred to St. John's.
And how long were you there?
I was at Hollywood Pres for 2 years and St. John's for 5 years.
And then during that time while you were practicing as a nurse, you were becoming a lactation consultant?
That's right. Yeah. So in 2019, I was doing both. I was per diem at the hospital in labor and delivery. And then I was like, there's just something missing. I was feeling that itch to do something else. So I did my training to be a lactation consultant. And for a couple years, I was doing both things, working in the hospital and after I passed my exam, doing lactation consulting and birth education and breastfeeding education, and then left the hospital September of 2021 to do lactation full time.
That was like knee-deep COVID. Probably
Yes,
a good time to leave.
And my third baby was almost a year old, and it was just getting to be
it was a real COVID baby.
Yeah,
Like straight 2020
yep,
baby.
October 2020.
Can you, just for my listeners, because there's so many nuances between, I feel like we're still unraveling the difference between a doula and a midwife. Which,
All the time.
All the time, right? All the time. And I think in many fields that exists too. Like, what's the difference between a therapist and a psychologist and a psychiatrist,
Yes.
right? So in our field, can you tell us the difference between a lactation educator, a lactation consultant, and a newborn specialist?
Yeah. Okay, so it's mostly about the education. International board certified lactation consultants need 90 hours of breastfeeding specific education.
Okay.
All those 90 hours can be like in a school setting, like a university setting, or online. And then you also need clinical experience to be able to say that you are ready to be a lactation consultant. And then you have to take an exam. So that's IBCLC. And then a lactation educator may have like 45 hours of the 90, and even some more like anecdotal experience or apprenticeship experience. And sometimes lactation educator and IBCLC could be interchangeable. You could also hear CLC, which is Certified Lactation Counselor.
Yeah.
Newborn Care Specialist. That one I don't know as much about, but again, you can combine multiple certifications with IBCLC or CLC plus Newborn Care Specialist. I think with NCS, you're learning through a course, and then you just get like a certificate saying that you passed. So IBCLC is definitely the highest level of education and expectation for like passing this exam. But what's funny is that I'm actually a certified doula as well, but only it's so that I could bill to insurance, like certain insurance companies. So as an IBCLC, I can accept insurance because I'm part of a bigger group practice called Lactation Consultants of America. And they help me like credential with commercial insurances and be in network with those insurances so that when I'm seeing a family, I can say, oh, we're going to bill this to your insurance, which is so helpful. It has increased access to lactation care across the United States. We're so happy about it.
It was cash only and pricey.
Yes.
Really pricey.
And so now, you're paying for insurance anyway. Might as well help you use that for helping with healthcare and lactation.
Absolutely. They're organized crime. I hate them.
Right? Mm-hmm. But for Medi-Cal, so that's Medicaid in California, for Medi-Cal and for Kaiser, IBCLCs aren't recognized as healthcare providers. I had to become a certified doula to be recognized as a provider who could help
bill through them
for lactation services.
So many nuances.
And I love working with my Medi-Cal or Kaiser clients because the appointments can be set up a little bit differently. I can spend more time with them. I can have 3-hour visits helping them, with like kind of doing postpartum doula work, activities, washing their dishes, helping them with laundry, taking care of the older kids while they're napping. So I really enjoy that part, but it was just so silly. Like, are you kidding me? Like,
Kaiser has that cool model because you can use your hours towards birth or postpartum, which is kind of creative.
Yes.
I think the world of doula support is changing very, very quickly. I think some for good and some for not as good as it becomes more institutionalized.
Right.
I think that I have a fear that ultimately they're only going to allow their own trained certified doulas within certain hospitals and people won't be able to bring their own doula. Or people are going to lie and be like, she's my mom or she's my sister.
Right.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it?
I know. Well, and then that also impacts the prenatal education you can provide as a doula.
100%.
Because I do with my Kaiser medical clients, I will do prenatal visits and then because I have experience as an L&D nurse as well, I'll be like, let's talk during the birth. And a phone call counts as supporting them.
It's like a virtual visit.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, because with my schedule and 3 kids and chaperoning everybody and, and chauffeuring everybody to their multiple
Mommy
activities.
Uber. Absolutely. And yet you always make time for my clients. I just have to shout out because I can call you and be like, Shaina, help. Client in crisis. We have scabbing nipples, low milk supply. Mom's really sad. Can you go? And you'll be like, where does she live?
Yeah.
You just make it happen.
I know. And
my
usually
little
I can make it work.
Breastfeeding angel. Thank you. Thank you
welcome.
so much. I was actually driving this morning and thought about the number of times I was approached by hospital to teach childbirth classes. And I never said yes. Because the number of childbirth educators I knew who got fired for saying something that the hospital didn't want them.
So you know what? That was a good call because that's true. That like if you had said anything to incriminate other providers or to say like do it
wasn't
this
even
way.
Incriminating providers. It was like you can move when you're in labor. Why are you telling them that? You can eat and drink when you're in labor. Why did you tell them that? Well, and I can understand because it would also be taken out of context. So the person would be like, I don't know, on PID and an epidural and getting prepped for surgery and wanting to have a, whatever.
A triple cheeseburger.
A triple cheeseburger. That's not, and they're like, well, my childbirth ed teacher said the one that you have downstairs. So what's going, so I can understand that. But there was always this like, there's a little more freedom when you are the provider out of the system that is bringing support to the client in the system.
Yes.
But I can see from the institution side that there are benefits for them training.
Oh, absolutely.
People. So different things are coming. I'm interested to see how this model is going to play out.
Yeah, we'll see.
They will always end up marginalizing the midwives, but let's
oh my gosh.
Let's hope history will work differently this time. I pray as we are more recognized for the work that we do. Tell me about what you saw in the hospital when it came to breastfeeding.
Oh, great question. Yeah, when it came to breastfeeding, it really was dependent on the nurse who was the assigned L&D nurse and how educated they were on lactation. That really impacted the breastfeeding success rates moving forward. And I see that now. When I'm going to a client's home, I'm seeing them after they've been, I mean, most of the time, I do prenatal visits sometimes, but most of the time, moms are calling me in distress from the hospital or, soon after they left the hospital. And then I go there and they're like, well, the nurse at the hospital told me XYZ.
Right.
And I get it. When you don't know and you're just kind of going off of what you've seen other people say or the pediatrician say or whoever, then you're going off of that advice. That's what you know. You don't know what you don't know. So a lot of times I'm undoing what they've learned in the hospital. This is something like that gets ingrained in moms' heads. They hear, nurse your baby for 15 to 20 minutes per breast, which in the hospital setting, when it's the colostrum days, I call it, that is a good rule of thumb. But once your milk transitions, so much changes with how baby latches, how much milk baby is getting, how efficient they're getting at breastfeeding, even just a couple days in. So a lot of times I'm teaching my clients how to look at their baby, how to read their baby and know like, oh, that's a hunger cue or that's a sleepy cue or that's an I'm done with breastfeeding cue or gassy or whatever it is.
Or I don't want a cue.
Or I'm just like, I'm refusing because I'm done. So that's a huge disparity from like what happens in the hospital and what happens once you're home from the hospital.
This is where, as a midwife and an educator and a birth worker, I see this flaw that I'm not sure how we can get past. So because we're talking about breastfeeding, let's talk about it in the breastfeeding context. At some point in a person's life, they may or may not have had some sort of environment where there was breastfeeding or discussion about breastfeeding. So that creates the early seeds of this breastfeeding belief or exposure. Right. Then perhaps they choose to have a child, and during that period of pregnancy or at some point they are reading a breastfeeding book. Maybe. Right. So they get their hands on whatever, the art of breastfeeding, what to do, and whatever is resonating for them. At that time, someone told them they have to take a breastfeeding class. So they take a breastfeeding class, which I actually teach breastfeeding classes, but I feel like teaching a breastfeeding class is like teaching someone French. And then they go to Paris and they're like,
I don't know what I'm doing.
I understand, like some things resonate, but everyone's looking at me funny because I don't actually use the same words that you taught me in the class, and it's just not working, right? Then they have the baby, and depending on what happens at the birth, that sets the tone for the breastfeeding.
Absolutely.
So, and let's not forget if the person has had trauma or sexual violation or anything that has created any sort of trauma around their body, specifically breasts, which are the first to sort of develop in our puberty on top of this journey, right? Then you have the birth. Now, if you have this unmedicated, uncomplicated birth the way you thought it was going to be, and your baby was given to you and never taken away, your breastfeeding journey is going to be very different than if you were planning it one way, you ended up with another way, and that baby went to NICU. Period. It's going to change the way you feel inside your body, the way you feel about yourself, the way you thought things were going to work. Hormonally, things are different. Then we have family members who have opinions. Well, I breastfed 12 children in my sleep. I don't know what the big deal is that you're taking a class for this, right? Or breastfeeding's, give me a break. Give the baby formula. Like who needs that? Then you have a little bit of like what you're now hearing, whether from other moms or family members, things like that.
On TikTok and Instagram.
Which is the whole other universe, right? It's a whole other dimension, really. But then you have the first person who talks to you about breastfeeding once that baby is on you. And when you are that vulnerable,
Yeah.
those first words echo like an echo chamber.
Yep.
So, I think when I was trained as an educator 5 years ago, they would teach us that RAM method of make sure that baby opens real wide and ram them on. And it was like rapid arm movement. It was called RAM, and it was called rapid arm movement. I kid you not. Until I had babies that we did that with, and they were like, what the heck? And they would get tense, and they would not nurse. So very soon I realized that this RAM theory needed some help.
Yes.
So once in a while, you have someone who'll say something to you like, oh, look at those flat nipples, or look at those big boobs, or look at the, oh, honey, So that resonates, especially when a baby has just come out of your body. That resonates.
Yep.
Then you have a postpartum nurse who is taking care of you in the postpartum unit, but you've already had an L&D nurse who's tried to help you latch before you went to the postpartum unit. But then you have a postpartum nurse, and this is if you're birthing in the hospital or have a baby in the hospital, your postpartum nurse changes every 12 hours.
Yeah.
And every flavor of postpartum nurse is a little bit different. Then you have the hospital lactation consultant who typically gets paid very little.
And they're seeing 20 patients in a 6-hour shift or 8 hours.
Correct. And each one of them has a different flair.
Yep.
So you might see one person on day 1, one person on day 2, one person on day 3, and all 3 said something different.
Yeah.
It was different than what the nurse said, different than what your book said, different than what Ina May said, different than what your mom said. So now it's like, okay, and now you have this baby.
Yeah.
And then you come home with the baby, and now it's me and you. Where do we go from here?
That is 90% of my job is figuring out what they've heard and how they're processing it and what it's looking like now. In the intake form that we use for Lactation Consultants of America, we're doing mental health screenings. We're asking, what have you learned from other lactation consultants or providers? How is feeding going? Just the basics of how is feeding going? What are the main issues you're seeing? And they're just checking down the box. Like, baby spits up a lot, baby pushes away, any type of problem you can imagine. It's there. That gives me a lot of information when I'm going into a visit. I'm looking at that intake form. I'm studying it. And then I'm coming in with a really gentle and open demeanor. Just to not be another voice of like, that's wrong, do this, but saying like, oh, yeah, what they said, I agree with that. Let's shift that a little bit. Let's adjust this position. I think this is working really well for you guys, but we just need to kind of scoot the baby a little bit. Or, I wonder if I wonder a lot. I wonder if your nipples are feeling pinched like that because baby's neck isn't getting that nice extension that we want. When we see a baby doing this tuck, when you're coming and latching, like your positioning is looking good, but the baby is just slightly off. Let's adjust this so that we can get this extension with baby's neck. And look how this is better for the latch. This is better for your nipples. So another thing that I say often is instead of making the statement of, oh, that looks good, or that was a perfect latch. If their experience is not aligning with that, then they're thinking, oh, I have to muster through this pain because she said that's perfect. Right. So I'll say, what did you think of that? How does that feel? And if they say, oh, it's still pinchy, I'm like, okay, let's adjust that again. Let's unlatch. Let's try again. Yeah. Let's do a different position, because I don't want them to have this mismatched idea that if it looks good to me, that's the final answer.
Absolutely.
It should feel comfortable for everyone involved, which is them.
Absolutely.
It's the mom and the baby.
It's so true. And and have you ever seen someone have like a really, really, really bad latch, but they're nursing like a champ and they're comfortable?
And then I'm like, I can't say anything.
Their nipples are not shredded. And I'm just like,
it's working.
How does that feel? And she's like, fine.
Yeah.
I'm like,
okay.
You're good? Yeah, we're great. Baby's past birth weight. Everyone's thriving. Everyone's sleeping. And I'm like, that's not what they taught at me in school.
Right. It doesn't look like that picture perfect latch.
But who's to say? And also there's a power differential, right? When we walk in with all of this expertise, it can make some people feel very not expert.
Yeah.
And I think part of our job as birth workers is to create expertise within our client by letting them feel and know that they are the expert on their body and their baby, no matter what.
Yes.
Even if you've never taken a class, you've never participated in, reading a book front to back about how you should do this or that with your baby, you're the expert on that baby. And the relationship. I just had a mom who has had several children and had a really, really difficult breastfeeding journey. And she had this child and she was so nervous about breastfeeding. She was like, listen, I can deal with the diapers. I can deal with the colic. I can deal with sleeping, not sleeping. But the breastfeeding thing is really, really bringing me down.
Yeah.
And when the baby first came to the breast, she was so tense. Like you could see her jaw tensed and her face tensed. And those babies feel the tension. So the baby came on, baby was like,
yeah.
Right?
Am I allowed to be here?
Like, what? Am I safe? Are you okay? Like, where, what is this buffet that's feeding me?
Yeah.
This, what is going on here? And we ended up just having this long conversation about like, listen, I want you to become buddies with your baby and start talking to each other like, listen, honey, I'm not great at this.
Yeah.
I'm not great.
I'm nervous too.
Yeah. Can you help me? Like, just show me like which boob do you like better? What position you like better? And so I left the hospital and she had a lot of family around. And then in the morning I called to check in on her and she said, I had the best night. I said, yeah. She goes, what happened? She said, everybody left. And for the first time, I was alone with me and my baby all night. And her husband went home to take care of the other kids and family members left. And she said, all night, I just talked to him.
Yeah.
And every time he came to the breast, we giggled and we laughed and we were silly. And she said, by the early hours, he had it down.
Yeah.
It wasn't hurting anymore. I wasn't nervous. He wasn't nervous. Like by sunup, like we were buddies. We were great.
Yeah.
And this wasn't her first baby. This was
right.
her, third or fourth baby. It was just a different experience for her. But if we take that, like, I'm the expert, let me troubleshoot here, off. And that's as midwives too, as L&D nurses too. Like, how much of what they teach you in nursing school is not applicable at bedside?
0%.
Right? Same with midwifery.
No, I had to learn on the job. And that's the craziest thing about L&D.
And learn per client.
And learn
per client. Like, how many times have you had a client contracting every 10 minutes and they still get to 10 centimeters and birth a baby?
Yeah.
That's not what the algorithm says.
Right? That's not what the flow sheet tells us.
That's not what the flow sheet says, right? It's contractions lasting a minute every three minutes.
Right.
So how do we, going back to my original conundrum, how do we hold space? How do we be clinicians without becoming the experts that take the expertise out of the person who had the baby or is raising the baby?
Yeah. I think it's approaching it with curiosity and gentleness. And that each, in this, scenario with a mom with multiple kids, each baby is so different. And just to take another analogy, so I have 3 kids. Now they're like old fogies. I have a almost 14-year-old, a 9.5-year-old, and a 5.5-year-old.
Everyone's in those transitional years.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with my youngest, I had to learn how to potty train my kid. I never learned with my first 2. With my first, I did all the 3-day potty train in a weekend or whatever. Yeah. Failed. Preschool basically potty trained her at 3 years old.
Peer pressure.
Yeah, it was positive peer pressure. Yeah. And I was like, maybe I'll do that again for the next kid. Yeah. Second kid, he basically potty trained himself. At 22 months, he ripped off his diaper and he said, no diaper. And I said,
which is unusual for the boys are a little later, right?
I know.
That's
I said,
early for a boy.
Okay, you're going to have to go pee and poop in the potty. And he said, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Love.
And then finally, 3rd kid. And I'm like, this is my 3rd kid and I don't know how to potty train my kid. I listened to a book, an audiobook called Oh Crap, Potty Training or something. Yeah. Amazing. I talked to friends and I followed the guidance in the book. And he was potty trained. I was like, I didn't know I could do this.
Wow.
Potty training scared me. Wow. I felt like I was telling all my friends, potty training is the worst part about being a parent.
That is so
funny. I feel bad now. They're probably thinking potty training is terrible, but it can be pretty good.
It can be. Producer Josh, let's make a note to get the oh crap
yes.
potty training experts on.
Seriously. No.
The book helped you.
It really did.
Yeah.
And now I tell everybody about the book. But So yeah, going back to that about breastfeeding and how do we approach this to give that expertise back to the parents, I think it's empowering them with education, definitely. I like giving different scenarios to my clients. And for a prenatal breastfeeding class, I'll tell them like, this would be the really nice path to take, but who knows if that's the path that you're going to be on.
Yeah.
Here's kind of an alternate path that might happen.
Yeah.
Let's say you end up having a C-section. That was not in your plan. And let's say you're separated from baby for whatever reason. We can still make breastfeeding work. And the key, the magic sauce, is initiating breastfeeding within the first hour of birth and hand expressing or if you can't initiate direct breastfeeding, hand expressing and removing colostrum so that your baby can have that colostrum. And doing that on a routine basis every 3 hours, 10 to 15 minutes per breast, removing colostrum with hand expression. I find that works way better than a manual pump, than an electric pump, especially in those colostrum days, the
Tell me
first
why.
couple days.
That's interesting.
Yeah, your hands do a much better job of like reaching that tissue further back and really compressing, and you can find different spots on your breast that are like your magic spots. Wow. For some people, it's really close to the nipple and right on the areola. For some people, it's a little further back. So you can really explore, whereas with a pump, it's just, here's the flange, here's your, you're using the pressure from your hand, or with an electric pump, you're pushing the button to adjust the vacuum. But your hands do such a good job, and I like to use both hands. So you have one hand, I'll just do a little hand expression video right with this video. So you make a C. With your hand, you press back on your breast. You compress, so you're squeezing your fingers together and squeezing the nipple, and then you're releasing. So press, compress, release, and you're just doing that over and over again. And I like to add this finger from the other hand and press on your areola, and then you'll see some drops of colostrum come out.
Which is so exciting for the moms.
So exciting. And then you can collect that with a syringe. So I go through all of these scenarios, these possible scenarios, so that they're prepared, whatever happens. And then once your milk transitions, which happens sooner if you're hand expressing or regularly nursing as your baby is hungry, or about every 3 hours, then once your milk transitions, you can move to an electric pump, which is much more efficient and easier to use, easier on your hands.
What is your experience, and what is the take from the educators about and the clinicians about colostrum harvesting in late pregnancy after 37 weeks, you all?
I have noticed recently, it's not just a trend, it's not just something that people are talking about online. Like, it's shown to increase the confidence of the mom in handling her breasts, and knowing that she has like an insurance policy that if direct breastfeeding doesn't work, if she doesn't have enough colostrum, or the baby needs supplementation because of a drop in weight or jaundice, that she has the stored up colostrum. It does not increase the chance of preterm delivery. I know moms who breastfeed all the way through their pregnancy up until the delivery of the new baby, and then they tandem nurse. So, like, they're nursing a newborn and their older toddler.
I had the sweetest story a couple of weeks ago. My client had her baby, and the baby dropped quite a bit of weight. He was a big baby coming in, but he dropped like 12% by day 2.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Yeah.
And started having some jaundice, and she had some colostrum, which she went through pretty quickly. But in the middle of the night, her best friend, who was also her doula, Ubered her breast milk, which I thought was just like the modern world's equivalent of like your aunt nursing your baby, because you all live in the same house, and she's like, give me that baby, while you heal,
like a wet nurse.
Yeah, a little wet nurse situation. I thought it was it made me cry.
That's amazing.
It's like she Ubered me milk in the middle of the night.
It's amazing. Yeah, I have a client who was receiving donor breast milk from a friend whose babies are similar ages, and she just had an oversupply, and my client has kind of a lower supply, so I was like, what do you feed your baby? I didn't say like, oh, what formula brand do you use? I said, what do you feed your baby when your breast milk, you don't have enough of your own breast milk for bottles? And she said, donor milk from one of my friends.
Is
really
it
sweet.
better for the donor milk to be the same age baby, or does it matter?
Well, for some babies it does, actually. I've seen it different ways, but most of the time with informal milk sharing, you can't know who, like, the age of the baby that you're getting the milk from.
Right.
There's this website called Share the Drop, and it's kind of like a dating website, but for connecting with a donor or a recipient for breast milk.
It's like right swipe for your donor.
Yes, exactly. And you can choose like, okay, make sure that my donor doesn't eat dairy or, whatever. Ideally, it would be cool if the age of the babies, donating the milk and receiving the milk are similar. But it's not required.
And can a baby who is in the first 3 days of life where they were actually supposed to be getting colostrum, can you give them donor milk instead, or does it have to be donor colostrum?
It doesn't have to be donor colostrum. It would just have to be very low volume of mature breast milk.
Okay, like a few mLs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. And then what about, so breast milk is made from your circulatory system. So whatever is in your blood is going to be in your breast milk, which includes pathogens and diseases like Hep C and Hep B and HIV and things like that. So should you know your donor very well? Like, are there places that screen the milk and send them to pathology? How does that work?
Yeah, so there are more formal milk banks, and they actually pasteurize the milk, and they will not accept milk that has any like high risk situations like that.
Got it. But on an app or something, you don't necessarily know who the person is.
It would just be kind of an honesty policy.
On your honor.
Yep.
On your
like
honor.
Marking what applies
what
to
might
you.
Be. Because if mom is taking drugs, or all of that is it's very
it's
different
a risk.
than when your mom and your grandma lived in your house with your mother-in-law and you all raised babies together and all shared. With that, I'd like to give you my hot take.
Love it.
Okay. I've developed a new dislike of breast pumps. I think they increase the rate of postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression in our new moms. Boom.
Tell me more.
I said it.
Tell me more.
I said it. I know I'm going to get some backlash from this. As we are trying to make our boobs and our babies fit this algorithm that we're given of a certain number of minutes on a certain number of breasts for a certain number of whatever, because the baby has to gain this much weight within a certain amount of time. And here's your graph. And you also have an app.
I know.
Right?
Apps.
You also have a daily journal that you need to complete while you are triple feeding. So you are nursing, pumping, feeding, which means you have 3.5 minutes to go to the bathroom, take a shower, eat, get some sleep.
Yeah.
And our moms are becoming obsessed with charting and making sure they stick exactly to this formula. And for the moms who have a propensity to go towards anxiety, OCD, or depression, I think it's the perfect storm. I think it's what puts them over the edge. Now, I'm not saying don't pump or don't buy a pump or don't rent a pump. Please do. In fact, make the damn insurance company pay for yours. That's what they should do. Everyone should have one, right? You want to go out. You need to work. You have a baby in the NICU. You have engorged breasts. Absolutely. I'm not saying don't use it for that.
Yeah.
But I think that, again, making moms feed babies in a way that is harmful to the moms because the moms are not getting a break and are now obsessed with what they have to do. I think there's another way to do it.
I think so too. And when I hear of a client who went to the pediatrician and the baby lost a ton of weight, and now the pediatrician, not a lactation professional, put them on a triple feeding plan, they're going to spiral and give up way sooner than if we adjust the plan to work with the family's routine and what they can do. And maybe it will take a little bit longer, but at least we have an exit strategy. We're not locked in to triple feeding.
Can you explain triple feeding?
Yeah.
And what some alternatives could be?
Absolutely. I mean, you explain it well, where triple feeding means you're doing 3 things per feeding routine. So every 2 to 3 hours, you're nursing, you're pumping, and then bottle feeding the baby. Either the expressed breast milk that you just pumped or the milk that was previously pumped in the last routine, the last chunk of time, or formula if you don't have breast milk stored up and ready to go. That's exhausting.
Yes.
Because then every 2 to 3 hours, all through the day and the night, you're doing that.
And that's changing and burping.
And all the other things. Mm-hmm. There's no time for anything else. Nope. It's not realistic. And when other professionals will just, blanket statement say, you should triple feed, this is what's happening. And I know for sure. The client is Googling triple feeding. And then they find out, oh, these are all the things I need to do. This is the amount of milk in the bottle I need to give. This is the amount of time I need to breastfeed. And this is the amount of time I need to pump. Yeah. There's no one-on-one personal guidance from a lactation consultant until, maybe a couple weeks down the line, they think, oh, maybe I should talk to a lactation consultant. Yeah. And they call me or someone else, and then we can help them get out of that plan. But my alternative is, and I don't know if you're going to like this.
Tell me.
Because it includes pumping.
Bring it on.
But I think it's saving the sanity of the mom. Yeah. So I tell them, don't triple feed all feedings. Since we're not sure yet, we're kind of sure how, for a young baby, how much stamina they have for breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is harder work.
It's a Peloton.
It is a Peloton. It's harder work for the baby than to bottle feed. So I tell them, pumping is going to be your primary mode of expressing, removing that milk. Mm-hmm. I want you to triple feed, this formal triple feed thing for 2 to 3 feeds in the day. You're not going to do this at night. You're going to get as much sleep as you can at night.
Love.
And we're even going to give you a 4.5 hour stretch for a solid stretch of sleep. And your partner, your postpartum doula, your NCS, whoever is there to help, your mother-in-law is going to do the bottle feed while you pump every 4 to 4.5 hours at night.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do.
Yeah.
So the routine that I usually put moms on is like every 3 hours, they're pumping. If it happens to line up with a baby's feeding time, so imagine these 2 tracks, right? Every 3 hours for the mom, she's pumping. Every 2 to 3 hours plus cluster feeding time, the baby is eating.
Yeah, which is a whole other...
It's a different track.
Yeah.
So if it lines up, then you're going to add in that nursing session too.
Nice.
2 to 3 times a day. And you're going to nurse, 10 minutes per side or as long as the baby can do it. And then all other times throughout the day, you're focusing on a good pump session. And I fit their nipples for the right flange size.
Which is huge.
Huge change because, no offense to the men listening to this podcast, but I am sure that a man created the first breast pump and measured a cow's nipple to figure out, we should send 24 millimeter and 28 millimeter flanges in these pumps.
Yeah.
No one is that size. I've measured one mom in the past 7 years who has 24 millimeter nipples.
Yeah.
Everyone is an average of like 15 to 17 millimeter nipple size.
And what are the sizes that they sell?
And so flange sizes could be anywhere from 10 millimeters to 28 or 30 millimeters. It's annoying. You have to purchase from a different company online or whatever and get the flange size that you need, but it's going to make your pumping experience so much better. And hopefully you're only on this triple feeding modified routine for a week to 2 weeks until your milk supply catches up, until you're able to kind of adjust the pump set. You're replacing a pump session with a nursing session. Baby builds up stamina. I'm also looking at the baby's oral function. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. If baby has a tongue tie, if baby just has low tone, or even high tone, hypertonia, where their jaw is just a brick, like clenched. Yeah. No mom is going to want to feed a shark.
Right.
Ouch.
Right. Yeah.
So then we're working on loosening up the jaw, and which I'm sure you say this a lot in your classes, when the hips are tight, the lips are tight. Same for babies. It's all connected. So when there's hypertonia throughout the body, their hips are tight, their jaw is tight, it's going to impact latching and feeding and how the mom feels. If the mom is in pain, no way in hell she wants to breastfeed and tear up her nipples even more.
Right.
So then there's this fear, and then your cortisol increases, and that inhibits oxytocin and your letdown reflex, and
the baby feels that. So the hypertonia is feeding off of mom and baby in this dyad, because mom is hypertonic because she's nervous,
Great.
and baby is hypertonic because they're feeding off the baby, or the vice versa.
And or because they just came out of the womb and they were scrunched up for 9.5 months.
And they're trying to relax. Came down a dark tunnel, maybe.
So many, oral dysfunction,
or
tongue tie, where like that tongue is tight. It's impacting all these muscles, the shoulders, everything down to the toes.
I'm going to take it a step further.
Yeah.
This is like the second part of my hot take. Yes. I think that the breast pump is contributing to postpartum anxiety and postpartum depression. Because we are separated from our babies while we are doing it. Very few moms are holding the baby and pumping. So I think that especially if you're only pumping, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just thinking evolutionary wise, because I take everything back to that early evolution mammalian brain. Yeah. Your body is going, where's my baby?
Yeah.
And the body is like, did my baby die? Like, where's my baby? Why is my baby not on my body?
Yeah.
Why is that baby's saliva not on me?
Yeah.
Why is this baby not kicking my uterus? Where's the baby? So it creates a stress state, right?
Yes.
So the mom's body is now not on a conscious level, because the mom knows her baby's in the other room, or baby's, God forbid, in the NICU. But the body is going, something's up here, because you're forcing milk production on a baby that's not on me and I'm not around.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I meant to say this earlier. When even with in between pump sessions or during pump sessions, I tell the moms, if they're in a triple feeding routine, to do skin to skin as much as possible. Help that, work with that oxytocin. And most moms see a difference in how much they're able to pump, either right after they've nursed or right after they've done skin to skin.
Absolutely.
But for someone not in a triple feeding routine or not needing to increase their supply with extra expressions, I tell them, like, unless you see a need down the road where your baby's going to need to take a bottle, you actually don't have to pump. You're your baby's food source.
That's right.
What are we doing? But most of my clients, I call them the modern mom. I'm like, you're the modern mom. You want to have a chance to
have a date night.
Go out. And so then your baby is going to need to take a bottle. And here's my hot take. If you're not planning to exclusively pump, your baby is occasionally going to get bottles, or you're planning to go back to work at 5 or 6 months postpartum, your baby still needs to learn how to take a bottle.
That's right.
And you should start pretty young.
I say between 2 to 3 weeks.
Me too.
Yes.
2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
Is
a bottle a day.
Perfect time. And sometimes not even that much. Sometimes you could do once a week.
Really? Will they
just some practice. Yeah.
Okay.
Just some practice once a week. But the critical time is to continue practicing and perhaps increase the frequency. Like if you were doing once a week up until 3 months, maybe do 2 to 3 times a week or every day, practicing with a bottle and giving a bottle feed through 4 months. All of my bottle refusal consults are for 4-month-olds or 5-month-olds because their suck reflex integrates around that time. And so instead of them sucking immediately on anything that's put into their mouth, they're just like, what is this silicone feeling? I don't like it. It's not my mom's soft breast.
Connected in a certain way.
They've formed those neural pathways and they don't want to take a bottle. And so I took a course to help babies get through a bottle refusal. And I've done quite a few bottle refusal consults. I would call myself an expert, but now I'm afraid to use that word because I want the parents to be the experts.
Disempowering people, Shaina. That's your job, is disempower of people.
Disempowering people. But no, I went in the bottle refusal consult. I'm really hands off.
Yeah.
I'm just telling the mom and the dad what to do. And I'm like, let's try this. Okay, she doesn't like that position. Yep, she's making a funny face. But keep following her, even if she's like not latching onto the bottle nipple right away.
Yeah.
Like, keep following her. She's not upset. Like, we're just learning a new skill and we've got to practice. And so I try to be as hands off as possible because they're the ones who are going to be bottle feeding their baby. Totally. And I'm not in the camp of like the mom should never bottle feed because but probably the baby is the most comfortable with the mom. So the mom is usually the best one to do the practicing of the bottle feeding. And then once baby has gotten it down, then dad, nanny, whoever, grandma can step in and do it this new way that we teach them. But it's like a 2-week process. And so don't wait till it's the night before you go back to work to try to introduce a bottle.
Yeah, I love the 2 to 3 week rule. I find they do really well. I usually say the opposite, which could be just what I've seen is I usually have them have someone else give them the bottle because sometimes they feel the mom giving the bottle and they're like, wait a minute, lady. Like, you've got the goods.
You're the boobs. Yeah, like, you're the boob lady.
What is happening here? So I've seen a couple babies, literally, they get this look on their face like, huh? What's happening? Not that they refused, but they were definitely a little bit like, when dad did it, they were like, yeah, it's dad. He doesn't, or, oh, yeah, it's mom. Or,
sometimes
or it's grandma,
that's the magic sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But
so different. Each one is so different.
Try it out.
Rapid fire.
Okay.
You ready? How many minutes between having an alcoholic beverage and breastfeeding?
Ooh, I don't usually say minutes. I usually say if you are feeling well enough to drive, you're well enough to breastfeed your baby. Never pump and dump. Even if you were totally sloshed and you went out clubbing, like pump maybe. And if you didn't feel well enough to drive, pump, but save that milk for like a milk bath for your baby. Yeah. Or just putting it on your acne.
I love that. Yeah, you
use your breast milk for other things. Don't throw it away.
Liquid gold. Absolutely.
It makes me cry when I see just like milk going down the drain. Like, that is so sad.
I think someone said that their husband had like thrown away a whole bunch of breast milk packs to make room for beer during the Super Bowl for a party. Bad things happened.
Straight to jail.
Really, really bad things happened. So yeah, don't do that.
Oh my gosh.
What about caffeine when you're breastfeeding?
Kind of similar to how you treated it in pregnancy. 1 to 2 cups of coffee a day.
Okay.
I think that's like 300 milligrams of caffeine.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Favorite nipple cream?
The Earth Mama Organic.
Ooh.
Or your own breast milk.
And how do you do it? Do you dip or you use a cotton ball or?
Finger. Rub it on your nipples. Yeah.
And it works because of what? Is it the high fat content?
Oh, all the antibodies and the antimicrobial factors. So many amazing things in breast milk.
And in the nose when you're flying and in the eyes if their eyes are gunky, right?
Yeah.
All of those things.
Love
Am I missing one? What else can you do with it?
Yeah, milk bath. For the baby acne. Cradle cap.
Yeah, because it's antifungal too. It's a wild substance. It is really a wild substance. Yeah. So in our last 2 minutes, tell me if you could say 3 or 4 sentences to that new mommy who is holding her baby and utterly flabbergasted by this whole experience, what would you say?
Probably get her to see how much her baby loves her. Mm-hmm. I'd point out, like, look how your baby is just staring at your face. Look how your baby is... Well, I say this in my breastfeeding class, like they use all 5 senses for that first breastfeeding session. They can only see 8 to 10 inches away from their face. And a good thing your nipples got darker during pregnancy. Contrast. That's a perfect target. Mm-hmm. And then their sense of smell, your areola releases a fluid that smells like your amniotic fluid, the Montgomery glands on your areola. And then their sense of taste, you express a little Costco sample of colostrum and they know exactly where to go. Their sense of hearing, you're talking to them. I would point out those things like your baby was meant to do this and you were meant to do this and your body has changed to be able to do that. And even if we can't get latching perfect or, we can still give your baby what they need, which is mom snuggles like all the time, love, and like that affection, that holding your baby, that skin-to-skin contact.
That safety.
You can do that, whether you're breastfeeding or not.
Yeah.
So,
which is really, it's so beautifully said. And as a midwife, I have such a pet peeve about babies being separated from their mommies.
Yeah.
It's just such, if it doesn't need to be. Obviously, there are situations where it does have to be. There's, babies who are sick or need more support. There's surrogacy, there's adoption. There's so many things. But if a baby is able to be with the mom, and if the mom wants to breastfeed, how many times have you literally talked to a mom and given her the keys to get out of prison by saying, do you even want to breastfeed?
Yeah.
And she'll be like, not really.
And
I'm
then
really
to give
hating
them
this.
that like permission
That
almost.
okay. Yeah, it's so
not
powerful.
that they need permission, but they
No.
feel like they do.
Absolutely.
And they'll kind of skirt around the issue a lot of times. They're like, well, what if I only breastfed for a couple weeks? I'm like, that's great. Then your baby gets a couple weeks worth of breast milk.
Yeah. Or just morning and night.
Sure.
What if I just do morning and night?
It's not an all or nothing.
It's not.
A little bit of breast milk goes a long way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Thank you.
We could have
Thank you.
said so many more things.
We could have been here all day. We can just chat. Absolutely. We will have you on again. It was such a pleasure to have you. You're such a gift.
Aw.
Thanks, Shaina.
Thanks, Atoosa.
What a great conversation I had with Shaina Brickner today. I just love her very practical, very kind way of teaching and informing her clients about all the options with breastfeeding. Pump, don't pump. Give a bottle, don't give a bottle. When to give a bottle. How stress and anxiety and fear impact not only milk production, but how baby comes to the breast. We talked about tongue ties, when they should be resolved. When should a person start pumping? When should a bottle be given to the baby? All of the questions that we're pressing, I feel like we got to in a really beautiful episode. That's it for this week. Thanks again to Shaina Brickner for coming on the show. And thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to support the Mamatoosa podcast, please subscribe or review us. And make sure to check out my newsletter, Mamatoosa Monthly. See you all next time. Mamatoosa is hosted by me, Atoosa Benji, and produced and edited by Josh Stretton Carlson. Our theme music is composed by Mehri Lalazarian. If you'd like to support the show, please follow and review us on Spotify and Apple, or subscribe and like us on YouTube. This show is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider when making medical decisions. See you next Tuesday.